Hey, greetings again. I have been wanting for some time to go over my Argo notes on media in his class that we had sat under at SMBI, the Ministers' Week. I appreciated it very much. Finally delved into them this week, but I also wanted to put his notes or what we appreciated in my own framework that I already knew of. So that's what I did. So I have sort of an introduction, lengthy introduction, and then the notes, and we will see how far we get. Okay, what I was familiar with is the types of soil in Luke 8:5. We're just going to read that one verse. That is, Sower went out to sow his seed, and as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and it was trodden down, and the fowls of the air devoured it. And you can read the rest of it. We won't go into it right here, but there's 3 different types of soil, and Jesus also gives his interpretation. There's 3 different versions of it in the gospel. Very familiar story. But we have here the idea of a sower going out, and he's spreading his seed, and I've always seen him as doing this in a cheerful sort of manner. There seems to be plenty of seed to spread about, and I envisioned him doing it with great hands full, and it's going everywhere. Whether he's doing that, but just throwing it, or whether he has some machinery, may not have had it back at those times. He doesn't seem to be concerned with a lack on his seed in any form. He has great confidence. At least that's the way I've always understood it. And the concern on the part of the sower, and the note that Jesus is bringing out, is the state of the ground that it's in, and the status on which the seed is falling. And one could go the fatalistic route, which they do in the Reformed theology, and just go into some kind of depression state and think, well, I am what I am, nothing can be done about it. I have never been of that opinion. That is the point of the parable. And I would base that on the actions of the sower himself. I mean, I would see clearly that there's hope, there's, first of all, confidence in his seed. If the ground is ready, I wouldn't see the sower at all as having any kind of fatalistic attitude at all. That it's more of a statement of the status of the ground, which Jesus is hoping to provoke in us, or his listeners, namely that maybe something can be done or should be done about the state of the ground of our individual souls if this is what state we are in. And obviously, I'm focusing just on the first one, the wayside. And it is, if we just envision what a road is, a wayside, it's a place where there's a lot of traffic. That's what makes it a road, a good road, a hard road. And it's the reason why the seed can't get in the ground is because the ground is hard, and it's hard for a reason, is because there's so much traffic on it. If the traffic should cease, then nature would take over. Weeds would start growing on the road. There'd be a natural process that would kick in with the sun, the rain, and so on. And the roads would and we're not talking about paved roads, we're talking about dirt roads, would eventually revert back to ground which the seed can go into, because that's the issue with the wayside, is that the seed cannot penetrate. There is no depth. It's all surface. And it is I'm going to dub it the road to nowhere. And one would not think of a road being like that, because one thinks if there's traffic, you must surely be going somewhere. But the context of the parable, as I would see it, is about you. And you're not going anywhere on the road. If you ponder that through, I think you will see the logic and the application of it. The road to you is not taking you anywhere. It's just passing through your property, all this traffic going through, and you're not getting any benefit out of the road at all. And plus, you can't get a harvest. And the burden of the parable is that there is to be a harvest. There's to be crops grown in your life. Good things are supposed to come out of your ground and produce fruit. That is the benefit. And the roadway is not allowing that to occur. So there is the appearance of going somewhere when you really aren't. And if you want to delve into the psychology of it, which I let myself go in a little bit, and I see it in our generation, and I'm applying it, going to the media thing, because to me this is how I understand it, what the issues are with what we're facing, what the problems are with what media is doing to us. If there's a sense of disassociation, because we are okay, it's coming up the notes, so we'll just wait on that. But there's this sense in our culture of they don't belong anywhere. There's a detachment, which, for whatever reason, has been given over to this traffic on the way. The wayside appears to conduct life because there's traffic, but it does not conduct you, and therefore to you, it is a road to nowhere. You're not going anywhere with it. It's not benefiting you. And this is, to me, not arguable that this is not our only problem, but we have in our generation and our culture the pull of nihilism. And we just heard in Sunday school, we're not supposed to use big words. It is the belief, even in its simple form, that life has no intrinsic meaning or purpose. And this pull of what I call the pull of nothing, it's nothing pulling you, is very strong. People struggle with meaning, with purpose. I think suicide rates, even among young people, is very high. That it's a real issue. If you want to argue with me, I don't even want to argue that point. I think it's very real. It's very obviously going on. And it's not something that has recently just popped up, even though we might see the effects of it more recently, but it hasn't really been recent at all. There was a very strong voice, and there was more than just one from the 19th century that warned of this occurring. And it occurs, and they specified it's not on the surface seen as necessarily that spiritual a thing or something that's very high and mighty in the spiritual world, but it is taking God out of everyday life, out of the mundane, out of matter. It's when you take God out of that, they warned that the result would be meaninglessness. And at the root of this meaninglessness is this issue of not taking responsibility for anything. We are deep into that. Nobody is responsible much for anything anymore. You just kind of do your own thing. And if you go back to the roadway, I think it's there, I see it very strongly there, is that you're not really responsible for the road. It's kind of an easy type of existence. And it looks like all this activity is going on, so you must be in good shape. And you just let the traffic go by, as long as the only requirement on the road is that you don't impede traffic. And I want to, we'll come back to that theme again and again, because I think it's a big, it is very real what the issue is. When you take responsibility for something, you know, the burden comes upon you. In the face of this, or as on the other side of it, God is very much about the awakening of the conscience and of assigning of responsibility, what our duty is, what our call is. And the old-time preaching used to be very much that. It wasn't nearly as information-laden as it is today. It was an appeal to the will to rise up and to take one's place and to, under God, because the call is holy, and home was holy, children were holy. It was a sacred, motherhood was sacred. It was holy. That's what we've lost. We've lost God in the mundane, and we're ending up with meaninglessness. The church, sadly, at large, from what I can see, literature that I've read, I've been exposed to, fell into this theme by switching from a call of responsibility, of preaching that appealed to the will, to rise up, to establish, first of all, a relationship with God, and then a relationship with your fellow man. You had duties that you had to do. And that this involved the turning to God, first of all, and a turning away from yourself, and towards a call to holy duty. This was very central to the theology from the late 18th century, early 19th century. It's still there. There seems to be a pretty clear line there in the middle of the 19th century where it starts to get away. And there's a reason for that. But the church, for some reason, and this change too is marked by that same timeline. They replaced this type of preaching of information, of call to duty, with theology, and it sounded so spiritual. They thought, let's just hold correct theological positions for which everyone has their favorites, which you can pick and choose at will, which can be held in the mind without any call to action or duty or responsibility. You just believe this thing in your mind, and there was no requirement laid upon you anymore. It wasn't the hard thing of taking up your cross and following Christ. It wasn't the hard thing of having to get out of bed and go to work as a man and earn some living so you could supply. You didn't have to look after your children anymore. All you had to do, if you wanted to be considered in the church and everywhere else as a righteous and a holy man, you had to hold these theological thoughts, but what you were actually doing is you were letting them run through your mind. So they fell into the same trap. It become, and it's very prominent today too. The definition of Christianity is to allow traffic in your mind. That's all you're doing. You're just allowing whatever favorite position, and they all have, each little branch has its own thing that they think is very important, and the only requirement really is on you is they check, are you impeding the traffic on the road that we have chosen? Not that the road is there, but the traffic that we have chosen to place upon this road. The only thing we're going to check with you to see whether you're fine is if you're impeding the traffic. And if you impede the traffic, then you're not a Christian. There's nothing about holiness anymore. That's not what they check. It's a radical, it was a radical and is a radical change, and it results in meaninglessness. Because Responsibility is directly attached to meaningless. If you have no duty, no call to follow and obey God, you end up with a life that has no meaning. It is obedience that gives meaning. It is a call to duty. It is self-sacrifice that gives meaning. That's what gives purpose to life. It's not maintained, it's not the question of which traffic you're letting go. But traffic on your road is getting you nowhere because it's not taking you anywhere. You're just watching. You're just a spectator now. We're just seeing things go by, and things are deteriorating in our lives. Things are deteriorating around us, and we don't know what to do anymore. And it's the same answer. It's the call back to the cross. It's the call back to self-sacrifice, to giving up yourself, taking up your burden which you have been giving by God, in the home, in the church, and becoming willing to lose your life. Again, that is what gives meaning to our lives and to our church lives. It has nothing at all to do with this traffic that we think is so important because we see, we're going to go to great things. And the idea has been in Chicago, and I'm just naming off names. It's been in India, all these, we think, so it's like we're living vicariously. That's what we're doing. The same thing that we're struggling with in this media problem, we've already been doing it in church a long, long time. And it's why we have no answer. It's why we can't withstand it. It's why we don't know what to do. It's because the thing from the world is getting us because we've already been doing it in church. It doesn't work the other way around. It's that we have let it go. And the only responsibility that is placed upon you far too often in church is just to have the right ideas. And I'm for correct doctrine. I'm not preaching against that, but we're going to have to get it straight. And where did this come from? Why did we... I don't know what happened back in the 19th century as far as the church. In many ways, the church seems to be following the world. I always thought it was the other way around. I just got done saying it's the other way around, so I don't know. But I do know what occurred in the secular world. While the church is involved in these great ideas, the world had some great ideas too in the 19th century. And they had the same thing about removing responsibility from us, from mankind, negating the first and the second greatest commandments, which was that one is to love God with all one's heart, with all one's soul, and that is a sacred first duty. It's not when you feel like it. It's not when you think it's a good idea. It's your duty to love God first with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. That's not just an idea that runs through your head. It's something you have to do. And the second one was to love God and one's neighbor as oneself. Three men back in the 19th century spearheaded the movement in the secular world away from God and consequently away from responsibility. And it's why we are ending up 150 years, more than that, later with this pull of nothing that people feel. It's meaningless. There's no reason for me to exist. Even though I have the house, we got more money than we've ever had money. I'm just blown away. And the stuff that I don't even understand. Where does all this money come from? Well, young people have access. They travel. We still have a long conversation about going to a restaurant even, because we don't want to spend the money. That's my generation. We got more money than we ever had. And we got more lost young people. They don't know who they are. Other than have fun, but it doesn't, they're lost. They're meaningless. Charles Darwin took out the responsibility to God, which was the law written in the cosmos, out of the universe, calling all men back to God. Romans 1 lays it out so clearly, that the heathen in the jungle, he goes outside, even outside his hut, and he sees the wonder of nature. And then he goes, looks at the sky, and he sees the sun and the moon, and he knows instinctively that there is a God. And that duty begins to press upon him, some kind of duty. He doesn't know, and Romans 1 identifies what that is. Be thankful. Get on your knees and just worship God. That's your first duty. Be thankful for what God has done. Instead of that, he goes and he wants to use this power for himself. So he makes these idols and all that stuff. It's not what I'm preaching about. But anyways, so Charles Darwin took this responsibility which all men feel toward God by the call of the universe, took it away with his evolutionary theory, or the survival of the fittest. Man now looked up into the heavens and saw not the face of God, but the nameless outline of this unreasoning force, and he was no longer responsible to it, because it's going to do what it's going to do, and I can't do anything about it. Karl Marx took out the responsibility to our fellow man with his Communist Manifesto, which divided the world between oppressors and the oppressed. He had fancier names for that, but I'm using the simpler words. And I'm aware that this is a simplistic version of what occurred, but we're supposed to try to talk simply, okay? The practical application soon became that everyone was an oppressor who was not either yourself, because of course you're never the oppressor, right? Never, no, I'm a good person. I would not oppress anybody because no one ever considered himself the oppressor. So in practical application, what we end up with is you're suspicious. So you totally negated the love your neighbor thing. Everybody becomes now suspicious, is a suspect. Power is suspect automatically, because power in our generation is considered oppressive. So you are left with yourself, which you're sure is not the oppressor, and you have one more qualification of people that qualify for not being oppressors, is if they support you in what you want to do. Anybody that tells you you can't do what you want to do, or that you might be doing something wrong, is immediately an oppressor. And I know I'm exaggerating a little bit, probably modified, but that's the thought process. Yes, so you have nothing about love to your brother, nothing about working with anybody, most certainly nothing about submitting to authority, because that's oppression. That has crept into the heart of the church. Sigmund Freud took out the responsibility to repent and address our sinful past and practices. Freud did this by blaming our past in some form or the other. Things like parents, occurrences, events, that type of thing. Freud said that the goal is now to have the courage, he said. He put it in the old language. You know, it used to be you had courage to face the dragon. St. George would you had the courage to face pain. You had the courage to face evil and to overcome it. That was courage. Freud turned it all around and he said, the courageous thing now is to face the fact that your parents were horrible people and to go in front of somebody and say it out loud. That's courage. And take the most sacred thing that you can think about, God or whatever. Blame God himself. That's courage. Tell people that I just had a horrible life and it's God's fault. It's my best friend's fault. He betrayed me. That's courage. And Freud said, if you do this, if you bring these atrocities that occurred in your past, you bring them out in the open and dare to air them out, this will cleanse you. It's a lie. It cleanses nobody. There's one thing that cleanses the sin, and that's the blood of Jesus Christ only. That's the only thing, and it's you facing your past. Yes, we need to face it. We need to face it in all its horrendous forms. Maybe that's been our problem. But to know we can face it with the courage that we have the answer to it. It can be washed away. It can be changed. It can be cleansed. But not by Freud. That ain't going to work. Whatever version he put that on. The world then both in and out of the church becomes a road on which there was much traveling done in the mind, but not in the body. Didn't actually do anything. You don't, just again, think of our road out there, all this traffic. You don't have to do anything about that traffic. The only thing you are not allowed to do is to stop the traffic. The only thing they get mad at you about. Doesn't matter what traffic is going by, just don't stop it. Okay? The world then, both in and out of the church, becomes a road on which there was much traveling done in the mind, not the body. No one asks what this new knowledge or this traffic on the road requires of me. Doesn't require anything. What is this new calling for me? What is my personal responsibility in response to what I have learned? I'm simply called to allow the traffic to pass by freely upon the road running through my life. The result is a severe disassociation of the self, a lack of identity, and followed by anxiety, fear, and much distress. It describes our generation precisely. The whole entertainment media scene at the present has this at its foundation: the removal of personal involvement or response. They're just taking it to deeper levels. This is done by creating in entertainment media a world which is not real. And we want to make sure that we get clear what I mean by that. This is taking Darwin, and I see Darwin's not spelled right, but anyways, Marx and Freud to a whole new level. No longer, and this is what I mean by not real, no longer does the road run through the real world. It used to. It used to be that all this traffic that was going by us actually related to our real life. The road now runs through a fictional one, and your life becomes no longer real. Okay, let's explore that, because I want to make sure that we get some kind of bottom level on what I'm trying to convey. This is a new world which has no relationship to the formal real world. It is entirely made up. And examples that one could use is movies like Star Wars was a long time ago. I hear the young men talking about the Red Rising novels, which is Mars is colonized by imagined means. It's a fictional world. But it's different than what fiction used to be understood as. And this is my input on this. Kerry Argo did not go into this. He stays very simple. No media. Just shut the thing down. It's basically his thought. He wouldn't even allow himself to be recorded. I did a search online trying to find talks or whatever by him. There's some videos on YouTube. Christian Light has some recordings, but he would not let them record up at SMBI. Maybe it's a more recent thing. He said he's not persuaded that the Holy Spirit goes with the pixels. That's what he said. Hey, more power to him. So this is much more deeper in than what he went, but it's me trying to make it so that it's interesting to me and then might be interesting to you. Okay? This is a new fiction that is in contrast to the classic fiction world that we used to know. And again, I don't think Harry Argo he'd be very nervous about what I'm saying now, because he wants to stay real. Nonfiction stories, real, and that's a good point. But this is, and I'm talking about the world at large. Fictional things like Shakespeare or Pilgrim's Progress, they are fiction which directly relates to the real world. They're not creating an unreal world. They're not, even though this fiction, it's not creating a fictional world, it's relating back, and it's demanding actions from the reader in the real world. If you read Pilgrim's Progress, you will come away from that with a call to duty. I need to get rid of this burden, and it's at the cross. I need to enter the narrow gate, and I need to fight against this evil that's going to coming, and there is evil coming. It's talking to you about real things. There will be lions along the road. Symbolic, but you know what they are when they come. They do look like lions. It was the connection between the fictional, what they were saying, and your real world was no doubt, it's there. Where the fictional world tracks the real world and reflects and demands actions from individuals in the real world. What you used to learn in the fictional world of Shakespeare or Pilgrim's Progress directly related to your life. And Harry Argo in particular brought this concept up. He used to write, he used to work for that. He's non-Amish background. Comes from an army family, and he worked in the army for many years. He has a PhD, I think. He didn't mention it, and I couldn't find it online, but I would be surprised that he could work at that level and not have that kind of teaching. Anyways, he not only wrote code, I think, for training videos, but the simulators that they did for training, he was involved in that. And this would apply there too, where as long as it's relating back to your real life, we're not crossing that line. But if you look on where we're at, video games, for example, I haven't played a video game in a long, long time, but back when we were little kids, you shot these little things. You know, we would go to Walmart and you put in 25 cents and you'd be right there. Oh man, I conquered the game. Have you conquered anything? Nothing. You've got nothing. It's a road to nowhere. It has no consequences. In real life, you can shoot people and dangerous beasts and you haven't shot anything, even though you feel like you have. It's traffic, and it's hardening. It hardens the life. It makes it where the seed can't penetrate. You have to have silence. You have to have stillness. You have to have alone times with God. You have to have down times. You have to hit bottom with your hopeless feelings to find help. The traffic all keeps that going. It keeps the stimulation going night and day. There's a road running. Oh, we're okay. The road's still full. You're not okay. You're not okay because the harvest isn't coming, and what you need is the harvest. Nor have you learned anything, because you want to conquer. Oh, I got level 1. Oh man, I see him. I got level 2. Yes, 3. Oh, I got level 3. I got it. And what value has that in your real life? Nothing. It has no value. It's a road to nowhere. We've got to get real again. We've got to teach it in the church again. Matter is precious to God. What is real, what He has made. You can't lose that. You can't get away from it. You have to love your wife. You have to love your children. You have to learn to do your job well. That's what's real. Nor have you learned anything by conquering. Get to level 3. Oh, I already got something. I got 1,000 points. I got 2 lives left. It's all just action happening on the couch or the easy chair in your head. That's all. Movies also movies have often become completely unconnected from real life. Great movies like It's a Wonderful Life used to inspire men. I'm just using that as one example. There'd be others too. To meaning and purpose. Now movies are largely fantasies that entertain you with no purpose in the real world. I hope it doesn't offend you, but I have the lyrics from a song, one of those psychedelic type songs that nobody quite knows what it means. To me, it talks very clearly. I get it. He's talking about the hopelessness of this generation and how they feel and how they act. Chasing cars, but snow patrol. And the setting, to me, again, this is a psychedelic type song, so you could interpret it a different way, but what I see when I hear the song is somebody, he's lying somewhere, and I see him out in the middle of a hayfield, a grass field, and there's a road going by, and he's just lying there, staring at the sky, not doing anything. So that's the context of where he's at. But he says, we'll do it all, everything. Just listen to him. He says, we'll do it all. He's not doing anything. He's just laying out in the field, but this is what he's thinking. We'll do it all, everything, on our own. We don't need anything or anyone. That's the attitude that we end up with this road problem. And what this generation is in, it's meaningless, but he has great plans. He's going to do great things. Oh yes, whatever comes through his mind, whatever he says, there goes a semi from Asia or whatever, Chicago. Yeah, someday I'm going to be in Chicago, he says, because I know I'm going to be there because the semi just went by. No, you're not. You ain't going to Chicago. You're not. To get to Chicago, you got to get off the field. You got to buy the semi. You got to make some money, which you ain't going to do, which is going to hurt you, which you're not going to do. If you want to get to Chicago, you're not going to get it laying in a hayfield looking at the semi from Chicago. But he thinks he is, because he thought it, see? Because he thinks it, he's sure it's going to happen. But he admits that I don't quite know how to say how I feel, and he even admits that those three words are said way too much, because everybody's saying it, and it's not enough. So he's admitting he's not getting anywhere. He's admitting it to himself. And he even says, I don't know where. He's confused about how as well. Just knows that these things will never change for us at all. So he's admitting, he's lying there in the field and he's feeling his hopelessness, and he's admitting. But look, if you know the song, I'm taking the lyrics a little out of order, but I want to prove my point. But he says this line a couple times. He says, but after he expresses this hopelessness, but he says, show me a garden that's bursting into light. That's a real important line in his song. He says, show me a garden that's bursting into light. He wants to see it. And I hear tones there of the Pharisees in Jesus' time where they told him, show us a sign, show us a miracle, and then we'll believe. This is the same state. He knows that this is really where he should be. He knows he should have a garden in his life that's bursting into life. But he doesn't want to get off the hayfield. He doesn't want to do what it costs. He doesn't want to plow the ground. So just show it to me first. That means he's somebody else's garden. Maybe that'll inspire me. Not going to work. Because there's going to be pain involved to get. You're going to have to pay the price. You're going to have to take responsibility for your life. Not in a self way, but as your response to what God tells you. Yes, that's what it is. Your duty to God. Love Him first, love your neighbor as yourself, and do what He says. So this is his conclusion. He says, let's just waste time chasing cars around our head. He actually says it. Let's just waste time lying out here in the hayfield. And let's chase cars so we feel like we're doing something, but let's not actually chase them. Let's just do it in our head. That is our generation. And they are hopeless. They are meaningless. They don't know what to do, except, as Harry Eicher has one of his books, he says, we're amusing ourselves to death. That's what he means by that. We're entertaining ourselves to death because we're not taking up responsibility. Okay, let's end with C.S. Lewis's quote, and then we're at Harry Argo's notes, which is 12 o'clock. I'm going to paraphrase this a little bit. C.S. Lewis is from the 1960s. About the power of nothing. You no longer need a good book with which really to keep you from your prayers or your work or your sleep. A column of advertisements in yesterday's paper will do it. And I see smartphones and I see flipping. You're just flipping. You're just going through these videos. That's what you're doing. You're chasing cars. You're going anywhere. You can waste your time not only in conversations you enjoy with people you like, but also in conversation with those you care nothing about, on subjects that bore you. You can do nothing at all for long periods of time. And see, this is from that time frame yet. So he's thinking you're just staring. And he says you can stay up late at night, not in roistering, but staring at a dead fire in a cold room. See, they've now given us, that's what's happened in the real world. They've now given us a fictional world in which you can do nothing, which is activity. And it tricks you. You think you're doing something. You're reading all this news. It's from here. Oh, yeah, it's there. And you're just going. You're chasing cars. God is the one without whom nothing is very strong, and nothing is very strong. Strong enough to steal away a man's best years, not in sweet sins, but in the dreary flickering of the mind over it knows not what and knows not why, in the gratification of curiosity so feeble that a man is only half aware of them. And do you know what you're doing to your brain? Harry Argo went deep into that. Do you know what your brain, well, you're flicking through that. It atrophies. It destroys, it literally destroys your brain cells. You just choo. Drumming of fingers, kicking of heels, and whistling tunes that he does not like, or in long, dim reveries that gave not even the lust or ambition to give them a relish, which once chance association has started them. You are too weak and fuddled to shake them off, because the road to hell, which slips by the easiest, is the gradual one, the gentle slope, the soft underfoot, without sudden turnings, without milestones, and without signposts. And we're going to just end, okay? So